Okay, I'm going to attempt to do a video on OCB Microsplat terrain shader mod to kind of explain how it works. This is by Maurice. He's a clever guy, that's for sure. He has managed to inject custom terrain textures and custom biomes into 7 Days to Die. Now, it should be understood that 7 Days to Die currently uses a system called Microsplat, or they like to call it microshit. I've yet to personally see the benefit of it, but whatever. It is what they use. And what it means, though, is that there's a limited number of textures that you can have in the game for terrain total, and that number is 32. And it just so happens that each biome takes 4 textures. So you can have a total of 8 biomes that have textures. Now, currently vanilla uses 5 biomes. So what this mod allows you to do is either swap them out or add 3 new additional ones. So what I did is I helped with the tutorial project a little bit and kind of set it up a little bit so that we swap out the 5 biomes, and we also add 3 new textures for 3 additional biomes. In addition to that, this mod also allows you to do additional terrain textures just in general, and I think you get a total of 8 more of those. So when you go to the desert in 7 Days to Die, you have that flat desert sand texture, but you also have the sandstone texture. The desert texture is part of the microsplat system. The sandstone texture is just a texture, no big deal. So I'm going to go through the XMLs a little bit and kind of do my best to explain what I think they mean. So first I'm going to start with the worldglobal.xml file. And what you're going to see is you're going to see this little text up here. And this is what Maurice has commented out, because all of the textures in 7 Days to Die have IDs to them. And some of the IDs are already used. For instance, the snow biome uses ID 19 and uses ID 0. These are referenced by these indexes, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? So that's a total of 9 different textures, because remember it starts from 0. So what he's done is he's basically said, okay, let me take those existing IDs and replace the texture for those particular IDs. So that if I go ahead and replace Terra Forest, T-E-R-R Forest, it's going to have my block on it, even though it'll still be called Terra Forest. So this is the setting that does these right here. Okay. For this index, which is index 2, and if we look at that, this is for the pine forest. We're going to go ahead and use test existing biomes at Unity 3D, test existing biomes, differential array. Now I'm going to have a separate video that covers the Unity side of this so you kind of see where we get these from. Now each texture map has a diffuse, a normal, and a specular. So the 3 times the 8 is 24, plus our 8 additional textures is going to be the 32 max I talked about before. Okay, I've switched the normals to false because we set that up in Unity, and the spot UV scale is 4 and 4. You can look that up in Google, it's pretty easy to find. So basically what we're saying is on index 2, which is the topsoil forest terrain texture, instead of using the vanilla forest terrain, we're using the one that I specify here in this array. And again, don't think of it just as a texture file, it's a little more complicated than that. We'll get back to that when I do the Unity video. And then the next one is going to be 10. When I look for 10, I find, let's see, index 10. He doesn't have it listed, but I'm right here. It's I'm pretty sure it's snow. No, this burnt forest. Okay, and then 7 is for desert, 0 is for snow, 8 is for wasteland. Now these numbers are hard coded into the game. They're going to be these numbers regardless. So if you want to replace the wasteland biome, you have to use 8. And he's already pretty much got this XML set up just for that. Okay. The next section is biome layer. This is basically some settings to kind of mess with the texture a little bit. Noise active, height active, slope active, erosion active, and cavity active. And these are all basically microsplat terms. You can take a look at any generic microsplat video and find out what these mean. Noise means just that, how much of it's kind of spread all over the place. Height, it would allow you to have a snow biome with stone most of the way up a mountain, and you set an existing height and go higher than that. Slope allows you to have the the stone when the slope of the terrain is at a certain angle. There's erosion, there's cavity, but again, you can look those up in a generic Microsplat video. Okay. Now we're going to add our own custom textures. And for this mod, I've packaged together two additional dirt textures, two additional grass textures, and two additional stone textures. All right. So it's kind of a very similar setting up here, but it's done down here. And it does not have the index number because, again, we're not referencing the index number. We're adding additional textures. So that way, if you pull up OCB texture dirt 01, it's just a different dirt texture you can use instead of the vanilla dirt or any other block that you want to use. And again, it uses a texture array. Now, one thing I do want to kind of go over these texture arrays is how to kind of read them. Anytime you have a file, and in this case, it's going to be test existing biomes 01, you're going to have 5 different arrays for the biome one, right? Test existing biome has 5 different arrays. 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Everything always starts at 0 in computers for some reason. So this is the first one, this is the second one, this is the third one, this is the fourth one, this is the fifth one. This represents 5 biomes. When I come down here, though, I have just a dirt Unity 3D file, but it's the same idea. I have 1 and 2 added in. There's 3 and 4, but I haven't commented out. I can't remember if I added the textures to the array or not, but again, I'll show you that in the Unity side. Then I have a grass array, a Unity 3D file that references 0, 1, 2, 3. This will make a lot more sense when I show the Unity side. Then I have a stone array because I added also 2 new stones. All right. Now you have this next section here, assign textures to voxels. This is for the additional terrain textures beyond what's in the biomes. So a hard limit of 8. All right. So this is where I'm referencing the 2 dirts, the 2 grasses, and the 2 stones that are right here. If I wanted to add, because that's 6, right? I can only add additional 2. I would just uncomment 2 of these and then add them to this list here. And what that does is it says, okay, the voxel name OCB voxel grass 01 refers to the texture name OCB texture grass 01. I kept the names very similar, so that way it's easy to follow along, because what this mod basically does is it says this refers to this, which refers to this. So it's very important that we keep up with that. So the texture name is Stone 02. So in Stone 02 is voxel Stone 02. So you kind of see how it all connects, right? So this array connects to this texture, which connects to this voxel. All right? So that's how I added new textures for different terrain that's nothing to do with the Microsplat system. Okay. Now we have the biomes configs test biomes. This is the section where I'm adding 3 new additional biomes. I'm calling them 1, 2, and 3. And then they have to refer to the splat maps 3 and 4 in the world's folders. Typically those are used for roads. 3 is used for roads and 4 is used for water, but for some reason this has to reference that in a way that I don't understand. So the way this works is you have each splat map has 4 different channels. RGBA, red, green, blue, alpha. This is in splat map 1, 3 rather, R, G, B, A. In splat map 4, R, G, B, A. So what we're doing is we're saying OCB biome 2 is in splat map 4 in the G section for green, okay? For this one, we're saying the second new biome is in the blue. The third new biome is in the alpha. It's just a way for the game to say, hey, there's some new additional textures, new additional biomes. This is how we're going to index them, okay? We could add just new layers here, but we have some disabled for the vanilla desert, so we use it for performance. I don't really understand that comment, so I'm going to move on to it, okay? So these are my new 3 biomes, all right? I'm using a biome layer index of 9, 1 of 10, and then 1 of 11, okay? And this is where I'm setting the new biome is going to use, the main texture is going to be OCB dirt number 1. Look familiar? It should, because this is what I have right here. It's basically me saying, hey, I added these new textures to the game. We're going to use this one for the new biome. The second new biome is going to use the new grass. The third new biome is going to use a new stone texture. So these are my 3 new biomes and the textures that we're going to use, and then define the textures up in here. Okay? So hopefully that all makes sense to you. The next section is going to be the blocks.xml. This is basically literally what it sounds like. It's going to be the blocks that refer to the new textures we just used here. Okay, this is how the entries look like. I'm going to say dirt extends from dirt because it does. The terrain index is OCB texture dirt 01. And if you remember right, OCB texture dirt 01, it would help if I spelled dirt correctly. If you remember right, we said that that refers to this right here, which refers to this up here somewhere. Okay, so we're basically saying that this is the texture we're going to use, this is the voxel we're going to use, and then the rest is just standard stuff you would see in a normal blocks XML. This is the map color when you hit M. And now right now they're all set the same, but that's just because I'm lazy. You should change those to something else. Maybe make this a gray brown. Maybe make this one some sort of different shade green, whatever. Okay. So this is me adding the new textures that I added in, just for the 3 new biomes and some additional textures that I want to use. Okay. Now I'm going to look at the biomes XML. Okay. I'm assigning 41, 42, and 43. You can assign them whatever you want. These are unused, so I assign them. Okay. Under biomes, for OCB number 1, which if you remember we did down here, OCB number 1. Where did we put it? 2 and 3. Okay, so I said 41 is this, 42 is this, 43 is this. Okay, now when I'm looking at OCB number 1, this is straight from the biomes.xml file. It needs some additional information. This part here is very important because he set it up that you can fill your array with hundreds and hundreds of textures, but maybe you don't necessarily want to use, maybe you want different textures for different worlds, but you want to keep the same general mod running. So if I had 2 different worlds, say a fantasy world and a futuristic world, I might have one array that has both sets of textures in it, but I don't want to test biomes world to show the medieval ones. I only want to show the sci-fi. So let's just, for shits and giggles, we'll just say sci-fi. Okay, so this is only going to show up for the sci-fi. Okay, and then let's say I had some different information, and I had it showed up for the medieval. So this is how you set what worlds work with the new texture generations that we're doing. It is very important that there at least be one. And I'm not a particular fan of that, but it's the way he's got it set up, because it kind of limits you to have different mods. I'm sorry, different textures for different worlds. So if you're going to package a world that requires this texture, you'd also have to package this mod. But it's a limitation that we have to just deal with. So there is a world called Test Biomes that I use that uses all these textures. If I loaded up Vanilla World, because Vanilla World is like here in Navigaine, it's not going to use these new textures. Okay, very important you understand that. So let's look at the new biome information. Everything is pretty standard except for this section right here. I don't believe this is in the default XML. We're basically, what we're doing is we're saying, okay, the microsplat terrain is going to be OCB dirt 01 terrain. It's not to be confused with the layers. Those could be any of your special textures or any kind of vanilla. Like this is vanilla one and that's a vanilla one. But this is the one where we said, okay, this is the microsplat terrain texture that we used. And it's got to match what we used over here. Okay? So, this is how we set up the biome. This is pretty standard stuff here. This is the new biome over here. This is the new biome over here. So, to recap, let's go backwards. Biomes has the 3 new biomes, and each biome has the microsplat texture that we're going to use, which in blocks is going to have the texture number, or the texture ID and the voxel ID, which are more global. We're mapping the texture and voxel ID here, okay, and we're setting up the new textures here, okay. Now, if you'll notice, I only have 3 entries. That's because the only change we need to do in the biomes XML is for our 3 new biomes. Remember, this section up here replaces the existing biomes, okay? That's why they're nicely commented. This replaces the pine forest, burnt forest, desert, snow, and wasteland. All right, so that's pretty much how the XML works, and hopefully that makes some sense to you. It's going to make a lot more sense when I show you the Unity side.